why you can't claim ownership of your body according to science and Buddha. We focus the mind first at the breath, because as you get to know the breath, you begin to realize that the mind opens itself up there, right at its attention to the breath. And that's what we're trying to understand. Our primary task here is not trying to understand the world outside. It's trying to understand the worlds of our own experience, how we create them, and how we tend to do a pretty sloppy job. This is why we suffer. And then, that suffering spills out onto other people. As you learn how to understand your mind, you do begin to understand more about the world outside, but that's secondary. The big problem is that each of us is creating suffering, creating stress, and then we try to live in it, and we find that it's not a good place to live. Sometimes we do our best to tell ourselves that it's okay, but it's not okay. As the Buddha said, the secret to his awakening was discontent even with skillful qualities, to say nothing of unskillful ones. It's that sense of discontent that drives the practice. So we get the mind to settle down because we realize that we don't really understand it well, and we're not content with our lack of understanding. We want to figure things out. But to figure out the mind, on the one hand, you can read a lot about the descriptions of mental processes, and that's a level of right view. But if you really want to understand things, you have to watch them as they're happening. And as you're taking a more proactive role in shaping concentration, you discover that you already are taking a proactive role in your life, much more than you might have thought. The simple fact that you're aware of the contact at the six senses comes after a lot of other factors going on in the mind, factors that shape what you see, what you notice, what you want to get out of the six senses. But to see those factors, you have to play around with them. It's like conducting a scientific experiment. The scientists don't just simply sit there and watch a rabbit, say. They do things to the rabbit. They put it in a box and lower the temperature, and then measure the oxygen and other things in the box to see what its respiration does as you lower the temperature. Then they raise the temperature and measure the results. In other words, they poke it. They change the conditions to see which conditions have an impact on some things, and which conditions have impacts on other things, and which conditions don't seem to have much impact at all. You can separate these things out by manipulating things. In the same way, you're trying to manipulate the mind, trying to get it into a state of concentration. And all the things that the mind does to shape its experience have to enter into the concentration. For instance, you need to have a perception of the breath and to figure out which perceptions are most skillful, which ones are the most helpful in getting the mind to settle down. Contemplating the world you create. One of the reasons we talk about the breath energy in the body is because you're trying to get the mind in a state of concentration where a sense of ease can fill the body. Even a sense of rapture can fill the body. If you think of the body as one big solid lump, it's hard for the rapture to get into that lump. But if you think of your experience of the body as being primarily energy, then the in-breath energy can flow easily into the body breath energy, and then the ease and the rapture can flow along with the energy when they start developing. So you've got a perception of the breath that helps with that. Then you need to have thoughts about what you're doing, where you want to focus the mind, how you want to breathe, and how to breathe in a way that does give rise to a sense of well-being. These are things you have to think about, but it's not thinking in the abstract. You're thinking, and then you're trying to apply your thoughts to see if they work, to see if they don't work. In that way, it's like the theoretical part of science where you can have all kinds of theories, but then they have to be tested. And only when they're tested and they meet the test can you accept them. In the same way, you may have different ideas about how to get the mind to settle down, and you try them out. Then if you find that the breath doesn't work for you right away, there are all kinds of alternative things you can do to get the mind to calm down, to put it in a position where it then is ready to return to the breath. You can think about the sublime attitudes, goodwill for everybody, compassion for everybody, empathetic joy for everybody, equanimity for the entire universe. You can think about the things out there in the world that you've laid claim to and tell yourself, that's really not mine. Even my body isn't really mine. You've borrowed it for a bit. As you eat, you're taking in elements from the world outside and putting them inside your body. Then the elements of the body wear away, so you keep replacing them, replacing them, replacing them. Every 7 years, apparently, every cell in your body has been totally changed. Some cells get changed more quickly. And so, which parts of the body there can you say are really yours? They're yours for a while, and then they go. Even the lenses of your eyes, which apparently stay there for a long time, eventually have to be let go. When you think about that, it helps give you a sense of detachment from the concerns outside. When even your body is something you can't lay claim to, how can you lay claim to things outside? That puts you in a position where it's easy to settle back down and just be right here. Then you've got the breath right here. So you've got feelings and perceptions and all kinds of thought constructs, intentions and acts of attention. They're all right here. And as you try to get the mind into concentration, you begin to get a sense of which ones are involved and how they get involved. That's how you begin to see the processes of the mind. That's when you can begin to see how they can cause stress and suffering when you're not doing them in a skillful way. Anything that pulls you away from a sense of ease, pulls you away from a sense of peace in the present moment, you have to question it. Why would I want to go there? What am I looking for? What's pushing me out? And when you start contemplating the processes of the mind in this way, you see that the processes are what's causing the trouble. It's not so much the world that's causing the trouble, it's the way you relate to contact from the world. That's the problem. And that's something you can actually change right here. The world outside is really hard to change. A lot of decisions are being made out there by people over whom we have no control whatsoever. You look at them and you begin to think, is the human race ever going to make intelligent decisions? There are so many choices available, and yet people are making so many wrong decisions, and there are so many people whom you cannot influence. But you can have an influence starting in here, so that the way you create the world of your experience doesn't have to cause suffering. It may seem like a small thing when compared to the world outside, but it's what you can do, and do it so that you have a good influence on other people. The more you get to know the processes of your own mind, the more you can give people advice on how they can get to know theirs. Because the real cause for everybody's suffering is inside them. There's no way you can get inside them to straighten things out, but you can set a good example. After all, we have the example of the Buddha. That's made a huge impact on the world, showing people that it is possible to get out. And we are getting out. We're not just deciding that we're going to stay here and be in the present moment and accept that as our goal. The goal is to get out. This is a place where we can't live. One of the Buddha's common images is of a house on fire. Everything in the present is on fire, being destroyed. All these fabrications that we're creating can't be a place to stay. Because as soon as we do them, and they are things that we do, as soon as we do them, they're not going to just stay there. They ignite and disappear. You have to keep doing them again and again and again. You did it yesterday, and today you have to do it again, and tomorrow you have to do it again. One moment to moment to moment, you have to keep at it. Even with the concentration, you have to keep doing it. You can't just settle in and say, okay, I'll relax. It's relatively restful compared to everything else. And because it's restful, it is a place where you can see things clearly and be more sensitive to what's going on, but even it is burning. So we're not trying to find satisfaction in being in a burning house. We've got to get out. And the Buddha does give us a better place to live. It is possible outside of the present moment entirely. So the closer we get to that, the better example we set for others. And that's how we all have impact in the world, through the examples we set. So at the very least, Make sure you set a good example by solving your own problem. That's why we're focused right here, because this is where the problem gets solved. The world is aflame. The eye is burning. The ear, the nose, tongue, body, the mind is burning. All 6 senses, the Buddha said, are burning with aging, illness, and death, passion, aversion, delusion. And those 6 senses are both his definition of the world and his definition of old karma. It's not a very life-affirming or world-affirming view, but it does affirm something else. That if you're going to look for happiness here, you're looking in the wrong place. But that doesn't mean that happiness can't be found, it's simply that you have to look elsewhere. So that accusation that the Buddha's teachings are not life-affirming or world-affirming is true, but from his point of view it's just common sense. Think about your old karma as burning. It's from our old karma that we derive the raw materials to try to find happiness. But if it was unskillful karma, then the raw materials are painful. If it was skillful, they're pleasant. But around the pleasantness, there congregate all kinds of trouble. You know that blessing we have. May you be beautiful, strong, wealthy. It's a blessing, but think about it. Beauty has its drawbacks. Wealth has its drawbacks. And if you get attached to the good things you've created, they burn you too. It's as if it were a dirty trick. We work hard to be skillful, and then the rewards, when they come, are rewards we can't really hold on to. If we hold on to them, we suffer. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to be skillful, because another way of dealing with those positive things is to use them as tools. We have the opportunity now to practice. That's the result of good past karma. Well, take it as an opportunity to practice. Don't throw it away. Don't waste your time. Don't get stuck on the pleasures of living in a relatively comfortable monastery surrounded by other people who are practicing. You can't just stay there with the pleasures of harmony and seclusion. You've got to use them. So even though these things are burning, it's as if the practice gives us the kinds of gloves with which we can handle burning materials and not get burned. We're doing this because, as the Buddha said, there is a true happiness that can be found outside of the 6 senses, but we use the material within the 6 senses to get there. I was teaching up in Canada recently, and I happened to mention that the Buddha never said there was anything wrong with looking for happiness. Now, there are some versions of Buddhism that say you shouldn't look for your own happiness, that you should think about the well-being of others and put your well-being off to the side. But that's not what the Buddha taught. He said that if you want to really help other people, first you've got to learn how to find happiness within. Because then when you know how to do it, you can give them good advice. You can be a good example. And the happiness you find within cannot be found by being selfish. You have to be generous. You have to be virtuous. You have to train the mind. But the practice is basically a search for your own happiness. Simply, that if you do it with heedfulness, you find that you have to develop wisdom, compassion, and purity as you go along. A person in the audience who said she'd been meditating for 30-some years, listening to Dhamma talks for 30-some years, commented that she had never heard the idea in those talks that the search for happiness was okay. Yet when you think about it, that's what the Buddha's teachings are all about. He's not affirming the world out there, but he is affirming the heart's desire for true happiness. It is possible, and it's a good thing to look for that kind of happiness. Just learn how to do it heedfully. So, the practice we're doing is not to keep us living in the world in a comfortable way. If we don't make it all the way to awakening this time, we'll come back, and the good karma of the practice will make things comfortable. But again, you can't just wallow in the comfort or grab onto the comfort because it'll burn you. But if you learn how to use it, it can help you along your way. That's where the difference lies. Using the results of your good karma as tools. This is the way in which the middle path is a middle path between indulgence in sensuality and self-torture. It doesn't pursue either sensual pleasure or pain. It uses them both. You use the pain to gain an understanding. You use not sensual pleasure, but the pleasure of a mind that's concentrated. And so it's not a middle path of a middling sort of pleasure or a middling sort of pain. Actually, the pleasure that comes from concentration can be very intense. But even this is a burning pleasure. After all, the verb for doing jhana, jayati, also means burning. But it means burning with a steady flame. It's not the same as the flickering flames of passion, aversion, and delusion that can get you all deluded about what's going on out there. When you look at things by the light of a flickering flame, it's hard to figure out exactly what's happening, what's actually there. The shadows move erratically and things come in and out of the darkness. But when the flame is steady, then you can even read small print. It's still a flame, it's still burning, but it's been adjusted. You adjust the mind into concentration so that you can read it and read by it. And then, ultimately, you can get to the point where, as the Buddha said, the fire goes out. Now, the image there reflects the belief in the Buddha's time. That fire, when it was burning, was clinging and agitated and trapped in its fuel. But when it let go, then it was freed. It was no longer agitated. It was calm. When it's burning, it's trapped in its fuel because it's holding on to its fuel. When it lets go, it's freed. And that's the message here. The six senses don't hold on to us. We hold on to them. And because we hold on to them, we're trapped. But when we let go, we're free. So it's up to us to realize that no matter how good things can get in terms of sights, sounds, smells, tastes, tactile sensations, and ideas, they can still burn you. But if you learn how to use them, you can find a way to use these things to get you past the burning and into freedom. Because that's what the image of the fire that's gone out conveys. Freedom. Release. So even though the teachings are not world-affirming or life-affirming, they are freedom-affirming, happiness-affirming, and that's what counts. We're not here to save the world. Sometimes you hear people saying that the Buddha wanted us to get rid of all kinds of suffering, wherever the suffering is found, and they use that as an excuse for not meditating and getting involved in all kinds of social programs instead, saying that their programs are Buddhist. But the Buddha was very particular. He focused on the suffering that comes from the mind's own actions, because that's where suffering is caused. He's not here to save the world. He's here to go beyond it. And that's where our practice should be aimed. Ud 310. Surveying the World, Loka Sutta. I have heard that on one occasion, the Blessed One was staying at Uruvela on the bank of the Naranjara River, at the root of the Bodhi tree, the tree of awakening newly awakened. And on that occasion, he sat at the root of the Bodhi tree for 7 days in one session, sensitive to the bliss of release. Then, with the passing of 7 days, after emerging from that concentration, he surveyed the world with the eye of an awakened one. As he did so, he saw living beings burning with the many fevers in a flame, with the many fires born of passion, aversion, and delusion. Then, on realizing the significance of that, he on that occasion exclaimed, "This world is burning, afflicted by contact. It calls disease a self. By whatever means it supposes anything, it becomes otherwise than that. Becoming otherwise. The world is attached to becoming, afflicted by becoming, and yet delights in that very becoming. Where there's delight, there is fear. What one fears is stressful. This holy life is lived for the abandoning of becoming. Whatever contemplatives or Brahmins say that liberation from becoming is by means of becoming, all of them are not released from becoming, I say. And whatever contemplatives or Brahmins say that escape from becoming is by means of non-becoming, all of them have not escaped from becoming, I say. For this stress comes into play, in dependence on every acquisition, with the ending of every clinging sustenance. there's no stress coming into play. Look at this world. Beings afflicted with thick ignorance are unreleased from passion for what has come to be. All levels of becoming, anywhere, in any way, are inconstant, stressful, subject to change. Seeing this as it's come to be, with right discernment, one abandons craving for becoming and doesn't delight in non-becoming. From the total ending of craving comes fading and cessation without remainder, unbinding. For the monk unbound, through lack of clinging sustenance, there's no further becoming. He has conquered Mara, won the battle, having gone beyond becomings. Such